Okay, so the program tonight is Talk the Talk and talking about your artwork. And we're also going to address writing about your artwork some as well. So note that all suggestions and tips tonight are my opinions from years of experience as an artist and a gallerist, as well as from input and feedback from other art professionals, such as gallery owners and art organization executives. And as we all know, there is no one way to do anything. So you may choose to do things in a different way if you feel that they are best for you and your particular situation. Okay, so tonight we're going to learn to overcome your fear of public speaking, identify interesting aspects about your artwork, how to keep your audience focused and speaking during Zoom programs specifically, and creating an artist statement. So let's identify where you could talk about your artwork. You can talk about your artwork when you just met someone new who asked what you do. You are asked about a piece or process by someone at an open studios event, which happens very frequently. You're given an artist talk at a gallery or an exhibition. You need to stand up in front of a bunch of people and talk to them. If you are participating in a panel discussion, you'll be asked questions and asked to chime in. If you are giving a recorded or filmed interview, you are hosting a Zoom program, you're participating in a Zoom artist talks. So those are amongst the many reasons that you might be talking about your artwork. So we're going to address overcoming your fear of public speaking. So for centuries, people have questioned their ability to speak in front of others. It has been described by a number of different terms, including stage fright and communication apprehension. Examples include speaking to a boss or teacher, somebody of authority, contributing to a group discussion where you have to talk in front of a bunch of people, or delivering a presentation. So I remember very distinctly in sixth grade when I'd have to get up in history class and recite a speech that we'd have to memorize. I would just giggle and giggle and giggle. And my history teacher would have to put me behind the map stand so I couldn't see any of my friends, so I wouldn't stop giggling. So that was, really difficult for me to talk in front of any group back at that time. So some people can feel nervous the moment a speaking task is announced, and on the day of the presentation may rate themselves as more nervous than what an audience actually observes them. So a lot of times it's psychological, it's our anticipation of it, it's what we feel, but not necessarily what people see in us. It is often the audience and the potential for negative evaluation from that audience that can make us feel anxious, whether those listening are physically or virtually present. And again, I feel that I'm always afraid of making mistakes. And that was one thing I had to get over to get past my fear of speaking was, so what if I make a mistake? We're all human. So to release tension, it's a good practice to open yourself physically. Think of throwing the windows open on a fresh new day and opening up yourself and opening up your lungs. Stand tall and stretch out your arms wide. Take up space, open your peripheral vision and observe all around you. So becoming aware of your surroundings and becoming full of the space and breathing really helps make a big difference. Open up your voice by imagining that you're sending it to the back wall or even outside to the street. So some people talk very meekly or quietly. And so imagine that you're talking to people at the back of the room. Think of a song you love and sing it, letting your voice fill the room. Feel your voice and energy open up. So these are exercises that you can do to release stress in advance. Extra energy is exactly what gives you charisma. So you want to infuse energy into your presentation. So use what actors call emotion memory. Draw on a memory of something you love. It might be a place where you feel relaxed, or an event that made you smile, or even a compliment or words of encouragement that boosted your confidence. And that will give you more joy and excitement and energy, charisma. If you feel your face freezing into a fixed expression, imagine smiling at a friend. This helps release tension and encourages your audience to relax too. Another thing that many speakers recommend doing is that you pick out somebody in particular in the audience and you talk to them directly for a sentence or for a few sentences. And you're making eye contact with them, and you're being personal to them. And therefore, you smile at them, you connect with them, and it makes that easier as well. You want to avoid robotic monologues by practicing. So delivering artist talks and webinars is a human task. Listen to public speeches from good orators. See what makes them click with their audience. It's mostly about saying meaningful things that touch the audience, leaving appropriate pauses, and speaking at a pace that allows listeners' mental facilities to properly process the information they're receiving. Think of Martin Luther King Jr. or Winston Churchill, or they both delivered some moving speeches, but that was an accident. Public speaking itself is a practiced, honed skill. So never do a presentation unprepared. Rehearsing is a good idea if you want to overcome the fear of being on camera. So one of the things that I do for these presentations is I read through everything and say it out loud before I go on Zoom. And that warms me up and gives me a bit of a rehearsal. I become more familiar with what I'm saying, and that helps a lot. Do a demo Zoom meeting with a friend or family member, or just practice alone before the presentation. So you might do a presentation and just record it and watch yourself, or do it live via Zoom with a friend. That's great practice as well. Okay, so before we get into the actual presentation, do you have any questions? Raise your hand. I see we have a few more people who have joined us. So I wanted to apologize again that I wasn't able to do the presentation last night, but we're here today. So I'm glad to see y'all here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and resume the presentation. Anytime you want, we stop for questions, just raise your hand, and I'll call on you to unmute yourself and you can ask your questions. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is generating content for your talks. So you want to introduce yourself and share some of your history as an artist. So what are things that you can share? Where you have previously lived and where do you currently live? When, where, and or why did you begin to take an interest in art? People find these things interesting. Did you study art in school, or were you self-taught? If you did study art, what did you study? Where? Did you go to college or art school? Where? What did you study? What major exhibitions has your work been included in? What awards and honors have you earned? Have you served in any other art-related capacity, such as curator, writer, or advocate? So those things are things that people find interesting and want to learn about you. Put yourself in the mindset of the average person. The average person knows little about art and about your art making process. What you have to do is create that emotional connection between your artwork and that average person. Think about how you can make them feel your artwork with words. The average person isn't looking for a landscape painting filled with farmland and barns. What are they looking for? Their soul may be yearning for a striking piece of artwork for their entranceway that'll greet visitors with a warm blast of dazzling sunlight, which conjures their memories of the many summer times they spent at Grandpa's farms, complete with the intoxicating aroma of a freshly cut hayfield and the glistening golden blades of hay. So they're looking for an experience, a memory, a feeling, an emotion, not just a painting of a farm and some barns. The average person can feel artwork if it's vividly described, creating an unwavering emotional connection. So you want to use words that make that connection with them. So art isn't positive. Art isn't passive. Describe your creations using action words so the average person will take action and buy your art. To determine which action words to use when describing your artwork to the average person, ask yourself these questions. What does the piece do? Perhaps it charms and inspires. What will the average person do with it? Perhaps they'll luxuriate in it. Does it make a statement? Perhaps it creates a serene atmosphere. So think, if you're going to be talking about your artwork, what does it do to someone? How does it make them feel? And be prepared to describe that. The use of words to describe artwork is completely subjective, and artwork may mean different things to different people. However, the effort, imagination, and practice, you can give the average person a more lively and interesting experience while viewing your art. Does the mood of your artwork, you can describe the mood of your artwork as well as the visual characteristics. Mood is an internal and rather subjective emotional state. So to describe the mood and visual characteristics to the average person, ask yourself these questions. How does its ambiance feel? What undertones does it evoke? What does its essence affect your spirit? Always mention colors. This is really important, but make sure you use words that describe the colors and their effect. For example, green is the color of grass, the leaves of trees, and seaweed. Green represents growth and healing. Red is the color of blood, roses, and hot chilies. It's a very passionate color. Red can mean anger or desire. So think about the colors that you use in your artwork and words that describe it that you can share with your audience. Use words such as lustrous, shadowy, radiant, glossy, and saturated when describing colors. These words articulate the depth of color. So something is not just red, it's a radiant red, and it's a passionate red, or it evokes desire. This is probably one of the most important things that you can do when talking about your artwork is tell a story to draw in the listener. Most of the time, you will be talking to people who want a way to connect and relate to you and your work, rather than folks who want specific points of information. Remember to tell a story rather than make general statements. For example, saying, I use old periodicals in my collages is not a very engaging statement versus saying, when I saw this copy of Life magazine from the 60s, I thought, or I felt, or I remembered, or I was surprised that. So make it more of a story. When I found this, it made me think of this, or I felt this. Think of a piece of art that you love, or of a particular artist whose body of work fascinates you. Has this work influenced you? In what way? Pick a piece of yours that you feel satisfied or happy with. What do you feel or think when you look at it? What would be the perfect reaction in a viewer? Ask a close friend or trusted colleague what their thoughts and feelings about the piece are. This will help you articulate what you want to communicate with your art. What is your favorite medium or material? That's another thing that you can tell in your story. What was your first experience of attraction to that medium by using it or seeing it in someone's work? What's great about it? What's frustrating about it? So if you're using even just oil painting, you can share what you love about it, what's difficult about it. Think about your personal history. Look at your images. Where are the turning points? Ask a friend who has known you for a while what changes they've noticed in your work. What else was happening in your life when those changes happened? Check your journal to find out. You can share when changes occurred and how it led you in this new direction. Another thing that you can do to tell a story is track one successful piece. When did I think of the approach or picture the image of this piece? Is there texture, color, or form that is central for this piece? Was I in process at the studio, in a class, a museum, or in nature during a conversation? Did I see this in a dream? How did I get the inspiration for this? Again, think of a piece you love and remember step by step how you made it from a technical rather than conceptual perspective. Start with choosing materials or keep notes on a piece you are making now, both steps and random thoughts. This will help you tell the story of the piece. Okay, any questions about drawing people in and telling a story? Raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay, does anybody feel that they tell a story in their artwork when they're talking? Okay, Janice, Janine, if you want to unmute yourself and just share with us what kind of story you could tell about your work.
It's interesting. I've opened studios on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, it's around the corner.
It is right. I tell the story about how I came to art, and I actually have pieces set up in the studio on my back wall that tell the story. Because what brought me to art was a serious injury, and I had been told I wasn't going to move from the neck down, and I'd never done art before, but I'd found that by doing art, I could get out of pain. And so a piece that I'd actually had been in different galleries and had some success was called Broken Lady. And I start with Broken Lady, and then I've got some other pieces. And then when I take them over to this, on the back wall, it's not terribly wide. There's a piece that I have that's called Nothing is Impossible. And yoga was one of the things that helped me. And there's I do make abstract mixed media, but I used a photo of my teacher's teacher doing this pose where his chin's on the ground and his feet are up over in front of his face. And that was actually something I've done once. And I had help. There were people helping me to do it, but I went from, Broken Lady to Nothing is Impossible.
So you
So,
tell your story through your artwork in your studio.
yes.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that with us. And Deborah, if you want to unmute yourself and share with us a story that you tell briefly with your artwork.
Okay, well, there's a couple of them. One is how I started doing the type of art that I do now. And that was the gentleman I met. He's a crazy old guy with, long gray hair and pink rhinestone cap and red glasses. And he made these images, and they were photographs, but they weren't. And I didn't know what they were. And so I said, "Oh my God, I love these so much. Can I come over and see how you do these?" And he was so happy. So I went over there and he taught me how to do the work on the scanner the way he did. And he goes, "Now you go home and do this." I'm like, okay, okay. So I did. I went home and I made the first piece with stuff I found around my house and the yards and the streets and all that stuff and cute stuff that I had and whatever. And I put it all together and I really liked it. I called it Picture of Life. And I sent it to the person who knew him indirectly, put together the show. Anyway, so he saw it and he wrote back and he said, "I love this so much. Can we trade?" And that's how it got started. And I said, "That's it. I've found my niche."
Yeah, that's a great story to share. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so y'all get some examples of stories that you can share with people. There's during Open Studios, I had this one piece that I have this really great involved funny story. And so if people were in my studio, things were kind of quiet or Nobody was talking to me. I just walk up and grab the piece and say, do you want to know the story behind this piece? And I just start talking. And by the time I was finished, I'd have like 8 or 10 people gathered around me listening to the story. So you want to get, that kind of audience around you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and resume the presentation. Thank you for sharing those. Okay, so another thing is an elevator pitch. So this is a lot of speaking classes teach this. So imagine meeting someone in an elevator who asks what you do for a living. I'm an artist. Okay, cool. That's the end of the conversation, right? You give them nothing to follow up on, no intrigue, no specifics, no sales trend. Well, no, you want to give them more. So you have the time that you're in an elevator to talk to them. So an elevator pitch is a brief way to introduce yourself, getting across a key point or two, and making a connection with someone. It's called an elevator pitch because it takes roughly the amount of time you'd be spending time riding in an elevator with someone, like 10 to 30 seconds. Elevator pitches are handy to have in mind anytime you're at an event where you might meet prospective job or networking connections. So an example of an elevator pitch might be, I'm a painter who creates abstract impressionist landscapes for those looking for mid-range priced prints for their home. I choose my subject matter from images submitted from fans on my Facebook page. So you tell them the type of artwork you make, that it's abstract, that it's expressionistic, that it's landscapes. You tell them a price point, you do prints, and where you choose your subject matter. So in 2 sentences, you cover a lot of information. Another example, I am a photographer who creates art noir photos of couples for art collectors looking for investment pieces. I donate 25% of sales to homeless artists. Okay. Another example, I am a printmaker who creates images of patterns using thousands of microscopic dots for business owners looking to create an out-of-the-box environment. I sell in sets of 3 so they can create a cohesive look in a room. So it's a good idea to think about what you want to say, write it down, memorize it, practice it. So when you're thrown in a situation, you're caught off guard, you're ready with an elevator pitch. Okay. So how do you write one? You write a 20-word statement for your pitch, and you can write a 20-word follow-up statement for more information. So if you say your first statement with someone and they ask you more questions, or there's more time that you can share, you have a follow-up statement that you can use. So once you write those, memorize these, okay? So the next thing, you want to master your message. The best presentations are simple and straightforward. It's important to create a plan. Condense your presentation to 5 elements: an introduction, maybe 3 points, and a wrap-up. Map it out on paper, then speak it aloud. Feel how it flows. Record it on voice notes on your phone. Then listen to pinpoint where you can smooth out any stumbles or up your energy in these places. So it's good to plan it out and do some practice. Reduce your message down to keywords with one memorable signpost for each section. Then write those keywords down and see if you can deliver your presentation using just your signpost as prompts. You've seen many people get up in front of audiences and they have little index cards and they just glance at them when they first start a section, and then they keep talking and then they change cards. So they are using those as signposts. When you command your performance, you send your audience a powerful message. You are an expert. You want to start with a bang. Most people take as little as 5 seconds to judge how charismatic a speaker is. Figuring out how to start your presentation is one of the most important parts of your presentation. It can either get your audience to sit up in their seats or prepare them to doze off. Reveal a shocking statement or statistic. A relevant and powerful statistic can set the tone for your presentation and show your audience the importance of your message. Tell a relevant joke. Humor is a great way to break the ice and keep your audience engaged. A boring presentation can quickly cause the listener to zone out. So I have an artist talk about a really serious body of work that I created. And I always start the artist talk off by saying, I believe that the human race does not deserve to survive. And then everybody gasps and they're surprised by this shocking statement. And so I grab their attention and they sit up and they want to hear more. And then I go in to talk about the purpose of this series and the different elements in the series and what it's saying. So I grab their attention with a bang. You can ask a question, get your audience involved by asking them a question relevant to your presentation topic. The more you interact with them, the more likely they'll be to listen to what you're saying. So when I used to do these presentations in person, where it wasn't one way, mostly with a screen, I would start out each section by asking a question. What does such and such mean? Give me examples. And I'd get maybe 5 to 10 people answering questions and throwing out things. And then I would start responding. So I would get the audience involved to start out with. So that's a really good way to start a presentation. Another thing you can do is quote an influential person. A powerful quote can often motivate or inspire your audience to sit up and listen to what you have to say. You can use an interesting prop. So that's another thing. If I was talking about my artwork, I might pick up a squeegee that I use for screen printing and hold it in my hand while I talked about the process. Using a prop can break the monotony of your presentation. Using motion and visual objects can help attract your audience's gaze. And then you want to end with a bang. Along with starting impressively, you should also try your presentation to end in a way that it drives your audience to take action or think about your message. A good idea is to end with a powerful statement or a thought-provoking question. Another thing that's important is to stay on topic. So for most of your presentations, shoot at point blank range. If you must go into detail, keep it succinct, simple, and flowing harmoniously with the previous ideas. And then you want to segue from one point to another. Make sure that one concept leads to another, which leads to another. And you can have a segue, like the best comedians, the best news anchors, the best orators have made use of the segue. This little tool makes presentations sail smoothly, since it emphasizes the cohesion of all the ideas you're getting across. Don't make your presentations go from one topic to another without first easing the new topic in. Practice building segues and you'll be able to captivate your audience. Regularly pause to engage. Presentations can get monotonous really quickly, and it's common for people to zone out in the middle of it. So if you want to ensure your message hits home, take regular breaks throughout your presentation and engage your audience in conversation. That's one of the reasons why I like to stop and start with questions and answers to give it a break and to hear from you. You could pause to ask them questions or simply ask what they think about a certain topic. Okay, so let's stop for questions. Anyone have questions about what we just talked about? Raise your hand if you do. Okay, then it seems like we're on track. So we have a lot to cover. So we'll go ahead and resume the presentation. Okay, so participating in Zoom programs, participating in Zoom is very different from being in person. So in Zoom, you're not acting, but you are performing. So bring your energy and be your best. Know what to say and how to say it and give a good show. Be conversational. Talk into your camera as if you're talking to a friend. We get distracted by looking at the screen and looking at the people on the screen, But what it's best to do is to actually look directly at that little green light at the top of your laptop and talk directly to the camera. You want to be interactive, two-way communication, even when it's just talking, asking your audience to raise hands or to say yes or no to a question. That's two-way communication that gets them involved. Use Q&A just like I've been using. The smaller your audience, the easier for people to participate. Q&A gives you your talk a chance to breathe. But if the audience is too large, this can be tough to accommodate, especially on the technical side. If you unmute all the microphones, end up having a lot of noise. So is a Q&A possible for a large audience? Yes, perhaps if you have an assistant that gathers the questions during your talk through the Zoom chat feature and then asks you those questions at the break. Face-to-face, enjoy a better experience if the audience sees what you say and how you say it. Likewise, you can gauge if they're excited or falling asleep. So invite everyone in your audience to turn on their own cameras. Hopefully, this will encourage them to lean in more and not tune out. I find it makes a big difference when I make presentations when I can see the people. I can gauge their interest. And if I need to pick it up and talk louder or need to change the subject or ask questions, I can gauge that, okay? Try standing when you speak. The best teachers and presenters are standing up when speaking to your audience. So when I speak in a group in person, I usually have a table and I stand in front of the table. And I talk and I walk back and forth. And if I need to rest, I will rest my back onto the table. And I'll maybe even sit on the table sometimes. But I don't like to get behind the table. I like to be in front of the table and stand. And I feel that gives me more energy and commands more attention and presence. Using your hands when you speak has been shown to increase vocal variety. It's a game changer. So even when I'm talking behind the screen that you may not be able to see me, I'm moving my hands because it gives me emotion and feeling and momentum with my language. So I use my hands even when you don't see me. And before your session, you want to make sure you're in a well-lit area and that your area, that you are lit from the front so people can see you well. Put your laptop or device camera at face level. Use a stand or a stack of books relatively close to you. As long as you have a decent internet connection, you will probably get the best quality audio experience by selecting use your computer for audio. You don't need to use a microphone. Explore Zoom setup options in the clients. Select settings and consider using touch up my appearance under video. I find that really helps soften everything. It doesn't make you as harsh, and it makes your skin tones softer, and it gives just a more pleasing appearance. You want to make sure you tidy up your background. If you want your audience to take you seriously, clean up any clutter behind you, especially if you're in your studio. A messy background can make you look unprofessional and distract people from focusing on your presentation. Ideally, your background should be a plain wall with your artwork. If you can't manage to find a clean, empty background, consider using a virtual Zoom background. There are tons of different styles out there, so make sure you pick one that looks realistic and professional. And then before you start a Zoom program, you also want to check your equipment. So check your internet connection. No one wants to listen to a presenter with laggy audio and visual. Use a reliable high-speed internet connection to ensure a smooth Zoom presentation. If you can, connect to the internet via an Ethernet cable. That gives you the best connection. Zoom works well on all wireless all the way down to 3G, but the quality is best on a solid wired internet connection. So wire it in when you can. Test audio and video ahead of time. Check if your camera and microphone are working properly by joining a Zoom test meeting. Ensure your laptop is plugged in. Imagine if your laptop dies out in the middle of your presentation just because you didn't plug it in properly. Don't let that happen. That almost happened to me. I realized it before the battery ran out. You want to make sure you have as minimal potential interruptions as possible. So whether you're giving your Zoom presentation at home or in a nearby cafe, there are tons of potential interruptions that can disrupt your flow and make you look unprofessional. So during your prep, your goal should be to minimize these interruptions as much as possible. Find a quiet area to begin with and lock the door so no one comes in unexpectedly. It's a good idea to inform your family members or roommates that you're going to be busy prior to the presentation. Another tip is to close all other applications and windows on your computer. Notifications and sounds can interrupt your meeting and distract you as well. You want to wear something presentable, so you don't want to look sloppy while sharing important information. This can prevent your audience from taking you seriously. So dressing up can help you feel more confident and motivated. Wear something that not only looks smart, but also makes you feel good about yourself. So how you dress can affect how you feel. So during the actual session, you don't want to get too close. Position yourself so the camera is seeing you from the chest or waist up instead of just seeing your face. This is more natural to the viewer. After all, in an in-person meeting, we usually see more of a person than just their face. This is especially beneficial if you tend to gesture a lot. You can use a pair of earbuds, any that work with your computer, along with your computer microphone, if you choose to. If you can't be in a quiet area, consider a headset with a microphone. Refrain from private behavior, such as scratching your face or blowing your nose. Everyone can see you. You want to, whenever possible, make eye contact with the audience. While you're speaking, it's just as important to make eye contact with your audience as it is during a face-to-face presentation. The problem with Zoom presentations, though, is that you often end up looking at your own video or at the video of your audience. You can use the chat feature to your benefit in Zoom. So that chat feature is a great way to get your audience involved without disrupting the flow of your presentation. Ask your audience questions and let them answer through chat, or get them to ask you questions in the chat. Let your audience know beforehand that they can leave their feedback and comments related to your presentation or topic in the chat room. For example, if someone comments that they can't hear you properly, you can try fixing your mic or raising your voice if they place it in the chat. Okay, so let's stop for questions. So any questions about using Zoom? Okay, Alicia, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay,
There we go.
I did it. So you mentioned making eye contact in a Zoom meeting. That baffles me. I can barely see anyone's face, let alone their eyes. How do you do that?
Okay, so number one, what you want to do is look directly at the camera. So right
Mhm.
now I'm looking down at you because your picture is underneath me. And so
Okay.
I bet it looks like I'm looking down. But if I look directly at my camera, that green
Yeah.
light at the top of my laptop, now
Mhm.
it looks like I'm looking at each one of you. And that's what I mean by making eye contact. You look
Okay.
directly at the camera, and therefore it looks like I'm making eye contact with each of you.
It's
If
not individual. It's each
right.
one thinks it's just them, but
Right.
Okay.
You're fooling them.
Okay.
So if I looked at each one of you, then my eyes would be moving around and that would be distracting,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So, every once in a while, I'll look at myself, I'll look at either of you, just kind of gauge where I am at, but I
I'm
try,
looking at you now.
yeah, and you looking right at me and you're looking at right
Okay.
at
I'm looking
everybody.
at everybody.
Yeah, that's it.
Everybody's special.
Yeah, so that's the trick. And sometimes it's hard, just instead of look at a green dot, you want to look
Mhm.
at people's faces.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
I have one more question.
sure.
So you said something about a filter. Do you have the filter on now?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't look this good.
I think generally I look as good, but
Oh, okay.
it
Okay.
smooths out. So, we all have little marks on our face or little, and it just kind of smooths things over.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's kind of a subtle difference, but I can tell on myself when I have
Sure.
it on. And so
Got
you
it.
can find that in the video settings.
Sure. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks for your questions. Anyone else have any questions before we move on? Okay, so we'll go ahead and resume the presentation. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is an artist statement. Most artists write an artist statement. An artist statement is a great tool that you can use to prepare yourself for your artist talks by memorizing and studying your artist statement. Writing your artist statement trains you to be prepared to talk about your artwork. So what is an artist statement? An artist statement is a short document written by an artist which provides a window into the artist's world. Your artist statement is your mission statement. This is your opportunity to fully discuss your personal beliefs, influences, motivations, and purpose in making artwork. An artist statement offers insight into a series or an entire body of work and describes the artist's creative process, philosophy, vision, and passion. I think that everyone should write an umbrella artist statement for your entire body of work and also write individual artist statements for each series. So as artists, we tend to create different series within our body of work. One series explores this, another series explores that. So you can write an artist statement for each series. An artist statement should be informative and add to the understanding of the artist. An artist statement enlightens and engages while at the same time giving the audience the freedom to draw their own conclusion. An artist statement should be brief. If it's too long, the reader will lose interest. So I like to write 3 paragraphs and with 3 to 5 sentences each. Therefore, it's not too long. People don't get tired of reading it. Your writings should be conversational and easy to read. This is not a thesis for a doctorate degree. So you want to communicate with everyday people. So make it the way you talk so people can understand. Most people that are reading your artist statement or listening to you talk do not have masters of art or maybe even bachelors of arts. So you may be talking to the general public. So you want to talk in their language. An artist's statement can be poetic, rhythmical, and lyrical. The words and phrases should be easy to read out loud with no tongue twisters. So you might pick up a rhythm or a lyricism in a sentence. So that's kind of poetic. Your artist statement message should be authentic and honest. It should be from your heart. It should be truly what you feel. You don't want to write what you think people want to hear, but you want to write it authentically and honestly. You don't want to be called on it if it doesn't appear to be honest. Gallerists look for artists that create artwork with a strong statement and or message. Gallerists look to this to learn about your work and know what insights they will be able to share with their clients. A well-written artist statement can be an important tool for galleries in selling your work to potential clients. Okay, Any questions about what a artist statement is before we go into reading one? Okay, Janine, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I was just wondering for the gallerists, could you give me an example of, or give us an example of the kinds of things that they're looking for? How that,
Okay, so there's two things that I think are really strong, and one is answer the question why. Why do you make it this scale? Why do you choose these colors? Why do you choose long and narrow or tall and narrow? Why do you choose square? Why do you choose this subject matter? Why do you choose this dynamic subject matter? You know, things like that. So explain why you make your choices, why you make your choices in elements, and they'll understand. I choose the faces to be black and white to reflect the drab life that we're living in. I choose silver metallic to symbolize the cold metallic aspect of the world that we live in, you know, things like that. So you look at the elements in your artwork, you identify those, and then you describe why you chose those, what they symbolize or what they represent. The other thing is I like to write an artist statement that explains to the viewer, and that includes the gallerist, because they're going to be sharing this with people in their gallery, what you expect or what you want people to view or experience when they see your artwork. So when they look at your artwork, do you want them to feel comfortable? Do you want them to feel uncomfortable? Do you want them to feel afraid? Do you want them to feel excited? So share with them what you want people to experience when they view your artwork, what you want them to feel, and why. And I always stress the why. Okay. I also like to write an artist statement using 3 paragraphs, where the first paragraph is an introduction, the second paragraph is the development, and the third is like the conclusion. So you kind of like, again, you tell a story, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Does it answer your question, Janine?
yes, that's great. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, good. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, so let's go ahead and resume. Okay, so let's talk about the artist statement writing process. So take a few minutes and think about why you do what you do. How did you get into doing this artwork? How do you feel when your art making is going well? What are your favorite things about your artwork? What do you want others to experience when they view your artwork? Answer the suggested questions as simply as you can and record or write down your answers. Okay. Then select a theme and structure for your artist statement and write 3 paragraphs. Keep your sentences authentic and direct. As a rule, your artist statement should be written in the first person. Refer to yourself with the pronouns I, me, and my. If this blocks you, write in the third person, then go back and change the pronouns as needed. Write 3 or 5 sentences per paragraph using the present tense. I am, not I was. I do, not I did. This is active. You're currently an artist. You're currently making art. Be brave and say nice things about yourself and your artwork. So you write in the first presence, first person. This is my work. This is what I want you to experience. This is what inspires me. You talk in the first person. Okay. Keep in mind that you are unique and your art is a reflection of what makes you different from any other artist on this planet. When writing your artist statement, invite your readers into your world, share your artistic vision and methods in a clear and authentic manner. Your aim for this important document should be to write it naturally, clear, and informative as you describe your inspiration, ideas, materials, and working methods. Your artist statement serves many valuable purposes, including content for your website, your blog, your cover letter to galleries, your profiles in social media, juried competition entries, press releases, exhibition catalogs, grant proposals, promotional brochures, your verbal introduction or elevator speech, interviews, videos, sales pitches, public speaking events, and much more. So you can see how you can draw from your artist statement for all these different purposes. So having a good artist statement is a foundation. Okay, any questions about the process of writing your artist statement? Whoops, I went one too far. Okay, any questions before we go into the sample? Okay, so we're going to read an actual sample of an artist statement. And this is by Brian Truesdale. And my cursor is getting very sensitive. Okay, so Brian Truesdale. I first became aware of abstract art as a teenager. Going through books in my high school art class, the images I saw of abstract expressionism were bold and frightening, the sources of passions and nightmares. I was mesmerized, and that fascination led me to take an open studio abstract painting class at a crucial point in my life when I sought to channel my emotions. The blank surface is a source of fear and transcendence. My paintings are a continuous search to find the key to the mystery of lines, color, and texture built up in layers of underpainting. I seek to find and develop the focal point, like a beacon in the chaotic noise of life. My process requires periods of study and reflection, alternating with periods of intense application. I believe in balancing outbursts of spontaneity, which bring the painting alive, with deliberate refinements that bring focus to the piece. I may paint or draw a single line or mark repeatedly, scraping away the edges with my finger, repeating the obliteration and restoration until what I see has the right intensity and rhythm. It's what the abstract artist sees in these layers that defines their unique language. My art has a conscious process, but it's not just an intellectual exercise. It's about the feeling and emotional response you get from viewing the work. The great rewards of art are the sharing of the human spirit and the experience of sensation and discovery. So much of this life is so distant and disconnected that if a painting is compelling, if it can elicit a visceral response in a viewer, then it has succeeded. Okay, so I want to hear from each of you what you feel about this artist statement. So I'm just going to go to each person. So Mary, would you mind unmuting yourself and share with me an observation about this artist statement? Did you like it? Did you not like it? If you liked it, what was it that you liked?
I like that I really thoroughly understand his intention and um, what he's getting out of his art. That is, I feel like that's all I understand. I don't know much more about him or his background as an artist. And maybe that's not supposed to be in the artist statement, but
Yeah. So generally an artist biography is to be about the artist, whereas
okay.
the statement is being about the art making.
Okay, well then I definitely feel like I understand his art making and his intention and why he's making art.
Okay, Mary, thanks for sharing that. Okay, Alicia, if you want to unmute yourself and share with us one observation or comment about this artist statement, something that you liked or didn't like.
One thing that I did like, because I can relate to it, was his last paragraph. The fact that he uses his art as a connection to others, as a way of connecting to others, and as a way of expressing how he feels and finding a kindred expression with someone else. That I could definitely relate to, and I perked up when you got to that part.
Good. Okay, I'm glad you enjoyed that. Okay, and let's see, we have Deborah, if you want to unmute yourself and share with us one aspect about the artist statement that you liked or didn't like.
Well, what I find interesting is because he's talking about abstract, and yet his writing is very personal and deep and all about a quest. He's not acting as like he knows it all or anything, or right. He's just constantly questioning and searching,
Okay.
for the abstract, which I find interesting because you'd think, I don't know, I would associate that more with portrait painting and things like that. But
I think all art is a search of some sort, and that for us to get better and better at what we do, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. And Janine, if you want to unmute yourself and share with us an observation about this artist statement.
What I really loved about it is I got so much out of it, and it's not very long. It introduced how he came into art, and then a lot of specificity about his art, and then what the purpose of his art is, or the hopeful purpose of his art
Okay.
is.
And so that's the three-part structure that I shared with you.
Yeah.
It's the introduction, the development, and the conclusion.
And he made it, but I loved his languaging and how personal it was. It was like it was so much about his, because not always when you read artist statements is it sounds really good, but you don't get the same level of personal.
Yeah, it's very hard to write about abstract work. And I think he does a really good job, especially describing the process. So I thought, in general, this is a very good artist statement. Okay. So every once in a while, my laptop will get in the way of itself and not allow me to use my functions. So let me go back to screen sharing and get pick up where we left off. And it may be questions. Okay, yes. Okay. So before we wind up, do you have any questions about the artist statement? Any questions of any kind about the artist statement? Okay, did you find it helpful to read that artist statement? Okay, so go ahead, let's go ahead and wrap up then. So if I will automatically email everyone with a PDF file handout of this program. So everything you see in writing, including the artist statement, will be included in that handout. So I'll email you after the program this evening. And if you want to register for any professional development programs, you go to sfartistnetwork.org. And upcoming programs this month is approaching art galleries for representation. And then in November, there's two programs. One is navigating the path to museum exhibitions. And the last program of the year is how to apply for artist grants and residencies. So there's a lot of detailed information involved in these programs. And just to let you know, I do one-on-one consulting with artists, and I do a $99 first-time special if you've never worked with me before. Instead of the usual $145, it's just $199. But also there's the Quick Grant program, and it's for California artists, and it will award reimbursement up to $600 for any California artists to work with a consultant, coach, or mentor. So if you're interested, you could receive 4 free 1-hour sessions with me. So if you have any questions about that, just email me and I'll give you information on how to go about it. And as the title of the program, the Quick Grant Program, it's very quick and easy to apply, and you find out 30 days after the deadline. And then I do food and art and food tours. So I go to Mexico City every winter. And so I've started doing art and food tours in Mexico City, as well as in Chicago, where I am now. So you can come down to Mexico City in February. The major art fairs are the second week of February. It's a great city. There's so much going on, so many great galleries, so much great food. and I'll take you around and show you places that you probably would never find on your own. So if you're interested, you can find out more information on the Artist Network website. So if you know of other artists that you think would benefit from these programs, please share the website link or forward the Artist Network emails to them. Okay, so with all of the programs, what I like to do is follow up or finish up by asking your feedback. So before we did that, I see Deborah has her hand up. So Deborah, did you have a question?
I do. I am giving a Zoom presentation on my work next month to an art class.
Okay.
What I'm not sure about is, I mean, I can talk about it and do all that, but what's the best way to show my images? Should I work from my website? Should I make a presentation, like you know what I'm saying?
Yes, so I've done
You know,
many
but
artist
yeah.
talks through our gallery. And what I found was easiest to do was make a PowerPoint presentation showing specifically the artwork in the order that I want to show it.
Okay.
Because if you go to a website, it's going to be in different places, on
Yeah.
different pages, or different orders. So I found that by making a PowerPoint presentation that I could screen share, then I could put it in the exact order that I want. I could put the titles that I wanted and include any information written in that presentation. I found that was the easiest.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure, happy to answer your question.
Great.
Okay, so before we close for the evening, I like to get feedback, like what you felt was the most important things that you heard from me tonight, or what you thought was new or important. So let's just go around. I'm going to ask Mary first, if you could unmute yourself and share with me one thing that you felt was a key takeaway from tonight's presentation.
Sure. I just really, for the first time, I think really saw the importance of using the description in the artist statement or your elevator speech or whatever those key concepts that you can identify. You're really going to then use that in all these areas.
Right.
So getting that first, and then you just keep going back to that and pulling it.
Yeah. Okay, Mary, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And thanks for joining the program tonight. And then Alicia, if you want to unmute yourself and share with us one thing that you felt was new or important that you heard in tonight's presentation.
For me, it was the 3 sections for the artist statement. I've attempted artist statements in the past, and I haven't actually approached it with that kind of organization in mind. So that helps me refine my statement and improve it in that way.
Okay.
I also appreciate it knowing how to look you in the eye. So I really appreciated that.
Okay, Mary, thanks for sharing that. And thanks for joining the program tonight. Take care. Good to see you again. And Janine, if you want to unmute yourself and share with us one thing that you felt was a key takeaway from tonight's presentation.
For me, it was how to speak to people individually about my work, and how long it should be, how concise, and just how to provide it, because it's so personal for me, but how to make it personal for them in an interesting way.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thanks for sharing that, and glad that you could join the program tonight. And then Deborah, if you want to unmute yourself one more time and share with us one thing that you felt was a key takeaway from tonight's presentation.
For me, because I have this presentation coming up, it was clearly the structure of the presentation, how to do it. And then the question, of course, about the images, how to show the images. So that for me was key.
Okay, good timing for you. Okay,
Yes,
thanks for,
that's why I took it.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing that. So glad that you could join us tonight. So good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Good night.